Jay here, Stretford, Paddock. This is the Paper Talk. As you can see, I'm in the studio. We're live. Get involved in the chat and the comments. Let us know what you think about all the latest Manchester United news. We're going to be covering all the latest news regarding the Reds. So make sure you are getting involved in those discussions. And if you've not done so already, please hit that like button and also give us a subscribe. Right, let's get into the main story. We've sort of said it there in the thumbnail. Breaking news. We've just had it confirmed. You can see it there from Manchester United. We can confirm that Lisandro Martinez suffered an injury to his cruciate ligament in Sunday's game against Crystal Palace. Wishing you a speedy recovery. Now, that is obviously, it's not the full sort of detail, but we've got it here. We'll go into a little bit more. It says assessment of the injury is ongoing to determine the appropriate cause of treatment and the timescale of his rehabilitation. Everyone at Manchester United wishes Lisandro Martinez strength for a successful recovery, and we will be supporting him every step of the way. Now, look, if it's an injury to his cruciate ligament, we know that he's not going to be available this season. He's just not. It's obviously a very serious injury. It is devastating, but I think we all knew that, didn't we? We all sort of knew that when the way he went down, the way he went like this, to obviously indicate, look, I need to come off. It wasn't an impact injury, was it? Did he sort of fall on it? You feared the worst, and we've seen it in the past with Martinez. He's had a couple of serious injuries, hasn't he? And it's been unfortunate, and this seems like it's another one. Now, my main hope is obviously he gets a speedy recovery and he's back for next season. I just hope as well he can continue to be the player that he's been, because I think when he got injured last, he came back. It took him a little while to get going, didn't he? He had a few games where you could see he wasn't quite himself. And then I think we talked about this on the podcast the other day, from I think it was at Liverpool game onwards, we feel like we're seeing the old Lisandro Martinez, that player who can carry the ball out of defence, who can handle any attacker, who's got that attitude that you want from a player, that mindset, that will to win, and chats to his teammates and gets everyone going. Just a real fan's favourite, a real crowd favourite, and a top player. And I hope he comes back just as strong as he's ever been. So it is devastating for him. I am disappointed, but we kind of feared this was going to be a serious injury. We were talking about it with Laurie yesterday, and he said, look, nothing's been confirmed, but it looks serious. The club obviously confirming it is a cruciate injury, and we know those aren't injuries that you just sort of shrug off and get back within a few weeks. So I think Sky been reporting it as well, and everywhere else, that you're looking to the end of the season here at least. I just hope he can get himself well enough for next season. Get involved in the chat in the comments. Let us know what you think. Loads of people already in the chat. MA says, get well soon, Leacher, Richard Evans, Akash K, Maury Boogie just saying morning. Jacoya Trot says, respect to those lost on this day. Yep, it is obviously the anniversary of the Munich air crash. I think 67 years that Manchester United lost, the flowers of Manchester. Obviously a very sad and poignant day. We've done a post, as you'd expect, with all the names there. Jeff Bent, Roger Byrne, Eddie Coleman, Duncan Edwards, Mark Jones, David Pegg, Tommy Taylor and Liam Whelan. So, yeah, it's always going to be a poignant day in United's history. And we remember it all year round, don't we? Let's not kid ourselves. But obviously today it has an extra special meaning, and something that, if you do get the opportunity to as well, I'm not saying, you should go out there if you can, but if when United played Munich, I went to where the Munich air crash happened, because it's not the airport now, it's the old airport. It's out almost in the middle of nowhere, and it's very eerie. You can sort of sense that. It's a strange feeling when you're there. It's obviously very, very sad. Akash K is in the chat, and he says, I was in the straight end on Sunday and was heartbroken when Leach got injured. I thought he was our best passer on the pitch on Sunday. Rest well. He's been very productive, and not just defensively, go back to Lisandro Martinez, but carrying the ball out of defence, scoring goals, getting assists. Obviously, we saw it at Fulham. We saw it going back even further in Manchester Derby. I think it was his assist, won it for Ahmad. We've seen it at Anfield, that great goal at Anfield. I mean, he's been flying, and we're going to miss him. We really are. And obviously, the main issue now is long-term. We get him back and we get him fully fit. Don't rush him as well. Hopefully, we've got options where we can use the likes of Leny Yoro. Maybe Aiden Evans gets a few more minutes than it was perhaps expected. There was talk, I think Finn, Academy Scoop on Academy Review, said that Heaven's coming in and he's going to be back up to Lisandro Martinez. He's expecting to get minutes. Well, now that might be sort of escalated a little bit because of the injury to Lisandro Martinez. I'm not saying we just throw in Aiden Heaven week in, week out, but maybe he's an option where you can rotate, you can bring in Leny Yoro. Perhaps you can even get, Johnny Evans gets a few minutes. Ideally, you'd probably use Luke Shaw, wouldn't you? He's the perfect person to come in, a perfect defender to come in on that left centre-back role. It suits him down to the ground. He did it a couple of seasons ago. You remember when he came in, I think it was at the Manchester Derby at Old Trafford, where he had an amazing game in that position. But he's injured again. And I do worry about Luke Shaw. I think looking here potentially, we were speaking about this last night or yesterday I think it was, about, when are we going to see him back to full fitness, and is he ever going to be that player that we need him to be? It just feels like Luke Shaw's career, at least at United, he's just petering out, doesn't it? I know he's got a few years left on his contract, but every time he comes back from an injury, he gets another one. And now when you've got an injury to Lisandro Martinez, you think, well, this would be the perfect time for Luke Shaw to come back into the side. He's got to knock himself. We're not quite sure on the timescale when Luke Shaw's going to be back. Forgive me for saying sure about 10 times there. There was reports that it might be 4 weeks. Some other reports saying it might be a little bit sooner. I think we'll have more on that when the manager, I think he's at the presser today, or is it tomorrow? I think it's today because the match is tomorrow. So I think we've got a press conference with Ruben Amorim later on today, so we can hopefully get an update, get a bit more clarity on just exactly the timescale with Lisandro Martinez, but also Luke Shaw. It'll be interesting to see just when we can expect him back in the Manchester United side, because we need him. Akash K says Luke Shaw's career has to be dusted. Floor says Luke Shaw is the perfect replacement, but Leacher will probably be back in the side before he is. Phil Berry says, I think Shaw's finished, to be honest. He'll never get back. Paddock says, who has a worse injury record, Luke Shaw or Phil Jones? Shaw is in danger of becoming the new Phil Jones, says Brian Casey. So Phil Jones and Luke Shaw getting compared to each other quite a lot there. Haziq's body is gone. I presume he's talking about Luke Shaw again. Again, another reference about Luke Shaw and Phil Jones. Listen, I said this yesterday. I know there's a lot of people who, not angry with Luke Shaw, I think that's probably a bit of a stretch, but disappointed with the fact that he went to the Euros when he'd barely played for Manchester United. But I have a little bit of sympathy there, because I've got to be consistent on this. I said it when Marcus went to the Euros the time before when he needed an operation. And I think it is a short career. If you're given the opportunity to play for your country in a tournament, almost any player is going to take that opportunity, especially when you're getting towards your late 20s, and this might be the last chance you get. Let's not forget, in the previous Euros, Luke Shaw scored a goal in the final. He nearly became the hero, didn't he? So I understand why he wanted to play. I get it. It is just frustrating because he obviously went to the Euros, played a couple of games for England. I think it was like, a couple of cameos or whatever. And then he's injured again for United. And he's not really featured this season. He's only played about 2 games, is it? And then he gets injured. So I understand why people are frustrated, but I do have a little bit of sympathy with the player. And also, I don't think he doesn't want to be injured. It's not like he's sat there going, I don't want to play anymore. I'm sure he'd love to get back in the side, get back to full fitness, but his body's just letting him down. So, yeah, I do feel a little bit sorry for him, and I know not everyone feels that way because of what went on with England. Let's talk about Leny Yoro. He did a chat with Rio Ferdinand. It's quite revealing. There you can see it. It says in Manchester Evening News, Leny Yoro has given a revealing account of Ruben Amorim's approach to players in training sessions at Manchester United, and said the head coach has no time for anyone who does not put the maximum effort at Carrington. The centre-back said Amorim would kill anybody he views as being lazy in training. Marcus Rashford has already fallen foul of that maxim, having been banished from the first team squad for what Amorim described as poor performances and a lack of effort. Rashford and Garnacho both left out of the squad to face City in December, while Garnacho quickly returned to the fold. Rashford remained exiled from the matchday squad. Amorim said he wouldn't play any player not given the maximum, and that Rashford's training had not been good enough. Speaking on the Rio Ferdinand Presents podcast, Yoro offered fresh insight on how Amorim can be, or how demanding, he can be. In training, it's really, I would say, hard, but it's important. We have a lot of training, and for him, training is really important too, because you play the game like you train. Look, we know, there's a bit more. We know that Amorim's not soft. It says here, Yoro, a bit more from the quote, says the most important thing is to be really good in training. If you are not working, if you are lazy in training, he won't like you, he'll kill you. Not literally, that wouldn't work. It's normal because, you play like you train. He's really strict on this because to win games and trophies, you need to be disciplined outside the pitch. You need to be punctual. So there's another little aside there. You need to not just, do the business in training, but obviously out of training, you need to be punctual, need to be on time and all that stuff. And we saw that, didn't we, with Amorim, when he was speaking about the Rashford and Garnacho situation. The very first time he spoke about it, it's not just, he said it was like all sorts of things, the way they get dressed or whatever, I think he said. He was sort of alluding to the idea that, look, we look at more than just what's going on in training. We look at everything about these players. You can also see a further quote here from Leny Yoro. He says he's big on communication with the players because he played at a top level. He's been at a lot of clubs, so he knows your feelings when you're not playing or when you have a bad game. He knows how to speak with you, and that's really important for me. That's good, man. I mean, we have to look after these young players. I know Leny Yoro, obviously, he's got quite a bit of experience for a teenager, came in under a big price tag, linked with Real Madrid, obviously a very, very talented youngster, but he's still a youngster, so we still have to make sure that we look after him properly, look after some of these other players in particular. And I mean, it goes throughout the squad, but in particular with the younger players, you want a manager who knows how to handle them, who knows how to use the carrot and the stick. He knows when he's got to go around smashing up tellies and calling him out in public, and he knows when he's got to put an arm around him. And it does feel like Ruben Amorim is that guy from what we've seen. I know interviews can't tell you everything, but you do get the impression that this is a manager who knows how to handle his squad. Bob Bates says, morning, Jay. We've had Busby's babes, Fergie's fledglings. Is it time for Ruben's rookies? I mean, you can give it a go. Andy Campbell says it's being called a professional. They get top money to work hard. It is being called a professional, Andy. You're absolutely right. I think sometimes, though, that has been lacking from certain quarters. Let's talk. I think we've got more. Is it Marcus Rashford? Marcus Rashford has seen 3 brands part ways with him in recent years amid his struggles at Manchester United. I mean, I think he'll be okay, but Burberry, Levi's and Beats have stopped sponsoring him, it seems, according to the Daily Mirror. But he's still on a lot of money. It says here, now his move to Villa Park could also prove costly in sponsorship terms. After already seeing his earnings impacted even by a lack of appearances and goals, Rashford's contract with Nike could soon see his pay packet slashed following his move to Villa Park. I mean, yeah, I get it. He's lost a few brand deals. He might lose a few more, but I think he'll be okay. I don't think he'll be getting universal credit anytime soon. The main thing Marcus Rashford needs to do is just start playing football to the best of his ability, innit? Get back to the Marcus Rashford that was tearing it up a few seasons ago, because he's looked a shadow of himself the last 18 months, and I hope his move to Aston Villa works out. I really do. I wish him well. Let me know what you think in the comments. Eddie Fittis still talking about Luke Shaw, says he's finished. G's pointless. Phil Berry says Rashford looks about 40 on those Villa pictures. Dan Rackley says, I'm sure he'll cope. I agree, I'm sure he will cope. Make sure you're hitting that like button, please, people. Vegan Real 1 says, is it grade 2 or grade 3 tear? Some news outlets saying Leach might be back before the end of the season, which suggests grade 2. We're going to get more on this. Hopefully get more on it from the manager later on today. I do feel like the way this is being sort of reported and what the club have said and put out, and also the way that we've rushed him back in the past. Let's not forget, Martinez has come back from injury and we've played him and then he's broke down again. So I just don't see him playing this season. I think they're going to take it cautiously, aren't they, with him? They need to, because he's a very valuable player. He's still only, he's not done by any chance, stretch of the imagination. He's still in his 20s, but he needs to be handled properly. We don't want to rush him back. So I'd be very, very surprised. I can't see it before the end of the season, but we'll find out. We'll find out more. We'll find out the exact nature of it all when we hear from the manager. I presume we'll find out the nature of it all when we hear from the manager later on today. We've got a story here about the Disabled Association. Manchester United have decided against cutting the 40,000 budget of their Disabled Supporters Association. So they were going to cut that budget, but they've gone back on it, which seems to make a lot of sense on that one. Also, we've got an Antony interview. Let's have a look here. Manchester United winger Antony has admitted he just wants to be happy playing football again. Antony completed a move to Real Betis on loan until the end of the season, and sources have said the Spanish club are covering a minimum 84% of his salary. I don't think Antony's one of the top earners on the club. I mean, he's not on the breadline, but he's not on the the mega money that some of his teammates are. It says here the 24-year-old won Man of the Match award when he made his debut for Betis last weekend and was officially introduced to the Spanish media at a press conference on Wednesday. During that unveiling, Antony revealed he received other proposals to leave United. He discussed his long-term future and admitted he simply wanted to smile on a football pitch again. Listen, it benefits Manchester United when he does well at Real Betis, and we want him to do well. He's still a Manchester United player. I want him to do well. I hope he smashes it. I'll be honest with you though, I don't think it's a pathway back into the United team. I just don't. I think even if he does well at Real Betis, I'm hoping that leads to a permanent move. I think he's had enough chances to show what he's about in a Manchester United shirt, and I don't think we've seen enough from him to think he's going to be the answer. You may disagree. Get involved in the chat and the comments. You can see here a quote from him. I had other offers, but when Betis appeared, I felt a certainty in my heart that made me stay calm. I am happy here and I want to achieve many goals. I am happy here for everyone, for the manager and the players. I feel confident, I'm calm and confident. I want to find my best version, and the first step is to be happy. Everything here is incredible. My family and I are happy. Now it's time to work to be my best version and help the club. Antony was asked whether he could join Betis permanently, and he said, I went through difficult times. I have to stay longer. If I have to stay longer, I would have to talk to the president and everything. And for now, I want to play and score goals and give assists. I have to help the team. Later, we can talk about that. He went on to say, it is very important to be happy because that is how things flow. I love everything here, the people and the city. I'm going to give my all at Betis, not just in the match, but in training. Yeah. Saying the right things, had a decent debut thing. Obviously, if he got man of the match, he must have done. I didn't watch the whole game, but I saw obviously that he got man of the match. I hope he does well. I really do. Let us know in the chat and the comments. Akash K says, yeah, I agree, Jay. You just have to say thanks and move on if it just doesn't work out. Brian Casey says, completely agree, Jay. He's one of the many players at the club who was simply not good enough for United. No one could ever question his effort, just his ability. Yeah, I think with Antony, he always tried. I don't think there was a lack of effort. I just don't think he had the levels that you need if you're going to be challenging at the top where Manchester United wants to be challenging. I mean, I don't even know if he's got the levels if you want to get into the top half of the table, to be brutally honest. Let's talk about Paul Scholes. He's had something to say. He says, nowadays, this is from the Mirror, but this is a quote from the Overlap fan debate. So I think this is the one that Maka was on, Adam McCullough. It says, nowadays, with football being so tactical, I feel like the life has been sucked out of players. When I was playing, I want to play with more freedom. I watch football all the time, but I don't analyse the game as much anymore. I've been watching Man United the last few weeks, specifically how they've been warming up before matches, and I've noticed that they're practising the team shape. They've got the back five defending the goal, crosses coming into the box for the forwards to attack, and they've even started practising set pieces in front of the fans, which seems odd to me. I mean, we need to practice set pieces a bit more because we're woeful at set pieces, whether that's attacking or defending. We are terrible at set pieces. The warm-up is there to enjoy, having the ball at your feet, practising your touch, but everything is focused on tactics, and I'm not sure I'd be able to deal with it if I was playing. I mean, look, it is a different era. Paul Scholes is one of the most gifted players ever. He really is. He's a contender for the greatest English midfielder of all time. So, you know, he probably didn't need the tactical stuff, or probably doesn't revel in the tactical stuff. Paul Scholes was a player that played in a much, much better team and was a much better player, I'd argue, than pretty much almost anyone in the United team. And we have got some good players in the Manchester United team, good midfielders. Look at the likes of Kobe Mainoo, the likes of Bruno Fernandes, Manuel Ugarte, all good midfielders. But Paul Scholes, I mean, in this team, he'd stand out as the best player, wouldn't he? He just would. So I get where he's coming from, and I get a little bit, really, with some of the tactical stuff. But this is the era we live in, and this is the manager and what he's trying to do. And he might feel that, whereas Sir Alex Ferguson could probably give a few instructions and the players would go out with that in the mind and carry it out, this manager might feel with these players, he's got to drill it into them. He's got to drill it into them pre-match, he's got to drill it into them in the warm-up, and he's got to drill it into them at half-time. And you can argue they're still not getting it. So I get why there's a bit of a difference here in terms of the approach from what Paul Scholes is used to and probably what he enjoys. What's this next one? Being Carey first team. Where's this from, sorry? United in Focus say Manchester United's academy has several youngsters who are beginning to make themselves undeniable to Ruben Amorim through performances. We were talking about this the other day on Academy Review with Finn. He was saying the same thing, that you can see one or two players making a step up into the first team. I think there's a bit more here where it's singling out a couple. James Scanlon is banging on Ruben Amorim's door after his latest performance, which saw him make 17 goal contributions in 18 games. Someone was pointing this out to me on X or Twitter, that James Scanlon is someone to keep an eye on. He doesn't get as many or as much notice as perhaps some of the other players that have been mentioned, but he's one who could make a step up. Also talks about Chido Obi there and Amir Ibrahimov. There's others that could come into the team, and I think is there any more? Yeah, they're saying, for those who have kept up with the academy all season, there is one attacking youngster who's definitely worth getting excited about, and that's Gabriel Biancheri, and they're saying that he could be the one that makes a step up. With 20 goals scored across the under-18s and under-21s this season. We'll ask Finn about him at the weekend. Next week for Academy Review. So if you've not done so, you can go and check out the latest one. Which he spoke about a few players that can make that step up, including Chido Obe. You can get rid of that. And yeah, one or two others as well. So go and check that out if you've not done so already. Also, just a little reminder, I'm sure you know, but just a reminder, there is the Munich Memorial Service at Manchester United at Old Trafford today as well. And as always, we remember those who lost their lives at Munich 67 years ago, but something that still resonates very, very strongly with this club and always be a part of our history. Losing those players at Munich is obviously something that we will never forget. I'm going to leave it there. We'll be back later on. Got loads of content coming up. Got Off the Bar, one or two other bits and pieces as well. So if you're not doing so, make sure you are hitting like, share and subscribe. I'm Jay Moy. This has been The Paper Talk. Thanks for watching.